I recently came across this video titled "The New Social Currency is Being Offline," and I could not agree more. I'm not sure what it is, somebody study this, but as a collective, we are finally starting to realize that there is a war happening for our attention, and it's not a fair fight, and it's getting to us. It used to be the classic, I forgot what I had for breakfast this morning, and now it's, I forgot what I watched literally just 1 minute ago on TikTok. I can feel that there is this collective rage in wanting to fight back. I think the thing that has gotten to so many of us is not only are we overwhelmed by the constant memes, videos, hot takes, and opinions, but even after ingesting all of it, by the end of the day, I still feel uninspired, and without having any sort of educated opinion on anything that I consumed, this has really made my brain feel like overcooked scrambled eggs. And all jokes aside, I've really gotten a little bit more insecure about my attention span, or lack of, over the last few years, especially the older I get. I'm on a journey to reclaim that, as I'm sure that you are too. Now, perhaps if you are here, you have noticed the ongoing trend of media I've consumed instead of doom scrolling, or maybe you have seen this video, Anna Howard's creating a digital garden to end my doom scrolling video. It's a huge part of what inspired this video, and I will probably be referencing her a couple of times. She mentions that the common statement advice of consume less, create more is good advice, but it can also feel like incomplete advice while we are still navigating the reality of our fast-paced digital world. Let's be real, because we are in such an autopilot state of constantly consuming, it can be really challenging for us to just put the phone down. She reframes the narrative of consuming less in what I feel is a little bit more of a sustainable way, by growing away from the addiction of micro, shallow consuming, and being a little bit more mindful and intentional about what we're consuming and how we engage with it. It's important to remember that there is a difference between attention and focus. My original name for this video was going to be how I'm reclaiming my attention span, but I then retitled it to how I'm reclaiming my focus, and that's because attention is a lot more fleeting and easy to grab. Focus requires a lot more intention and discipline. It demands your presence, your curiosity, your engagement, your patience, and a lot of us are stuck in that loop of giving away our attention all day long without really engaging in long-term deep focus. I am all for deleting the social media apps, spending time away from your phone, adopting hobbies that require your hands and your focus. Obviously, I heavily suggest all of that. But this video is not your typical go cold turkey, quit all content altogether, but more about shifting what you consume in a way that demands a little bit more of you. And not in a draining way, just in a way that might expand or stretch your thinking. I want to briefly touch on the word consuming or consumption. I've noticed on TikTok that a lot of people don't like this word, and frankly, I don't understand why. I mean, I feel neutral about it. It's not like I love the word, it's not like I hate the word. I just understand why people are using it as media I consumed this week being the title of their carousel. Like, a lot of people are saying to replace the word with, well, if you read a book, say you read the book. If you watched a TV show, say you watched it. But that's not a title, you know what I mean? So you could write, like, you can't write things I did. You would have to write media I consumed. And I know that media consumption is also a word used in like academic studies and settings. I feel like it's perfectly applicable. I'm not sure why it triggers people so much. I feel like it's a useless fight. It's not like I would want to say content I absorbed. I mean, we could say that instead, you know, but it's all gonna sound the same. And I think it, in a way, the term holds us accountable because we are consuming it. When I look up the word consuming, one of the definitions is absorb all of the attention and energy of. I don't know. If you hate the word, please help me understand why. Nicely. So yes, the first thing is in relation to Anna Howard's video, which is digital gardening or taking notes. I have always been one to hyper fixate on things, and to be really into taking notes on things that resonate with me or creating lists, often digitally journaling how I'm processing through something in the moment. If you didn't know, a digital garden is a personal, usually evolving, usually digital space where you intentionally organize and collect your ideas, thoughts, and new learnings. In her video, she discusses how to apply the concept of a digital garden to everyday media that you consume using the Obsidian app, which I actually downloaded and now use for this. I do still use Notion, by the way, but I find that it's a lot better for life and career planning and just writing down lists in general, whereas Obsidian's user experience is a lot better for tracking your own personal notes on things and subject matters. So you can watch her video if you're interested in why Obsidian is the best for a digital garden, but one of the main points is just because it creates links and connections between your thoughts, kind of like your own personal Wikipedia page. You know how when you go on a wiki page, there are hyperlinks that open up and take you to a deeper subject. It's definitely a little tedious to get into, but once you get past the learning curve, I love it, I'm not gonna lie. You can take notes on anything from books, TV shows, movies, podcasts, YouTube videos, generally longer form content, or even just half-formed opinions that you are still trying to figure out for yourself. Over time, you get to really see how your ideas evolve or change or connect to other ideas. But with all of that being said, you do not need to adopt Obsidian in order to start the concept of digital gardening. You can just simply take notes. This is something that I did on my notes app. The goal, the idea is just to slow down, engage a little bit deeper in what you're watching, and actually retain what you're taking in. The method is not as important in the beginning as the idea is, which is to challenge yourself to consume media that is going to require your deeper focus and not as much of your fleeting attention. It also might help you take a step back and reflect on whether you are even in a good headspace to engage with that media. I think a lot of us often do this by just simply placing a video in our watch later list because we know that our attention span is not there right now and we want to watch it later when we're a little bit more focused. No matter how much you hate it, we all know that note-taking is the universal method for really absorbing, learning, questioning, challenging ideas, and also expanding on them, which is key here. This doesn't have to be for every piece of media that you consume. Obviously, I'm a big believer that we can consume media, relax our brains, and just rest. And I think that we should accept that, make space for it. Moderation is key. We don't always have to intellectualize everything. We can definitely still watch things for entertainment purposes, but I have started doing this recently with the books that I read. I now take notes on each chapter before moving on, and I cannot tell you how much of a difference it has made for me. I'm sad to say that a lot of my favorite books, I could not really give you a summary on more than just the basic concept, and not just summary wise, but I'd never really allowed myself to reflect on the book and take away anything. And I think that that's something that note-taking can really offer us, is the ability and the opportunity to take something and turn it into a more original thought or feeling by reflecting on it, finding parallels to our lives, connecting it to other ideas and thoughts. So it's not just about summarizing what you are consuming, but also not being afraid to be curious about the concepts, question them, disagree with them, maybe even expand on it. What does it remind you of? How can you apply this to your life? And maybe a movie you watch, a documentary you watch, spark something inside of you, and I would say to follow that. By taking notes, we are not just allowing the content to fly by, we're letting ourselves sit with it, reflect. Another huge benefit that I have noticed in starting to do this is that I consume a lot slower and a lot less in general, just because the content that I am consuming with, I'm spending a little bit more time mindfully doing it. And the things that you consume while lower in quantity, which is a good thing, will feel higher in quality because we are really giving it the full attention that it deserves. And I can understand how to some this might feel excessive, and I would challenge you to try to reframe your narrative around note-taking to something that is happening for you and not to you. And I would urge you to really remember that feeling of spending hours consuming content just to realize later on that none of it stuck. In Odyssey's video, Mindful Consumption, he discusses the choice that we are presented with anytime we are about to consume a piece of content that might have educational or practical advice. And we all do this. We all watch those self-help, motivation, you're not lazy, you're just blank videos while laying down in bed, covered in our blankets, watching it on our iPhones. What if instead we made the conscious effort to sit up, turn our brains on, and choose to actively engage with that a little bit more? Instead of just mindlessly consuming it and falling into the illusion or the trap that we are doing something good or productive, even though we know we're not. Attention is easy. Focus requires discipline. So I'm not saying that this is going to be easy, but it really does make the difference between skimming the surface of something and deeply understanding it. What if I told you that consuming more intentionally would require you to consume more? You should question that. I get it. By that, I don't mean more of what you're already consuming. I mean diversifying your media consumption. Obviously, to longer form content that demands more of your deeper focus. So I don't mean TikTok, I don't mean Instagram. I know they have their place, but they are also designed to keep you hooked. We know that the problem is that when it is all we engage with, we start to lose the ability to really sit with anything that might challenge our focus. Yes, I mean those longer educational podcasts. For me recently, I have been reading more essays and articles, which is something that I used to love to do as a kid in the beginning of the internet times. And I know how easy it is to stop doing simple things like that. Just like you, I go to articles, I skim them, I read just the first sentences of each paragraph. So try to resist the urge to skim those articles and instead fully read them, maybe even take notes on them. And even if I want to relax and just brain rot, as some people call it, I still would suggest to lean more towards watching TV and movies over TikTok and Instagram, just because again, it requires more of your focus to follow along on what's happening. And I would easily be guilty to this if I didn't have an obsession with TV, but I've definitely known people who struggle with sitting down to watch a TV show or a movie. And of course, like, be picky with this. This is something that I'm guilty of, and I'm not picky enough when I watch TV and movies in particular. I'm really big on like nostalgia and always wanting to watch or rewatch things that just make me feel good. But I know that there are a lot of really good films out there that really make you think and reflect and question. I think a lot of us in general have leaned away from reading articles and essays and instead just want the concept and the idea to be explained to us in a video, such as this one perhaps. I don't know why it took me so long to finally get into Substack. I've really been loving it. Like, holy crap, there are so many good writers out there on Substack. I've been playing around with the algorithm, trying to find writers that I resonate with and also seeing what they repost, and I've been having a lot of fun with it. And I would say I am already becoming a little bit more obsessed with this type of content in a good way. Like, I have just not really wanted to spend any time on social media now that I'm spending more time consuming different content. That's the key. You want to replace it. You don't just want to add more screen time to your day. So keep that in mind. Next up is to do less. And by this, I just mean stop multi-consuming. I'm talking to me too. I recently read a quote on Substack that read, "The answers you are constantly searching for lie in the silence that you are avoiding." And I might add, with all the doom scrolling. I feel like this applies to all of the advice I've talked about. Slow it down, reflect, engage with it, sit with it, and whatever it is that we are always searching for, always searching literally and figuratively for might just come to you. But we have to give ourselves the time and the space to do things again without being so fucking overstimulated. So this one's kind of embarrassing to admit, but maybe you relate, and I have just been trying to watch things in full again. Watch entire movies in full, an entire TV episode, an entire YouTube video without fast forwarding it. This is where we're at right now, guys. Like, I'm not gonna let you sit there and lie to me. I know that some of you guys also watch documentaries and shows on your laptop with your finger on the fast forward button, ready to skip 10 seconds. All right. And again, like, I'm not coming down at you. I'm with you. I'm there with you, and I'm trying to fix it. And just realizing that I'm doing that and allowing myself to feel just like a little bit of shame and embarrassment, just a little bit, a healthy amount, does help me be more aware of it. And now when I'm doing it, like The Handmaid's Tale, I'm watching it right now. I love it, but it has a lot of those slower scenes that are meant to carry weight, I feel like, and are cinematic. And oftentimes I would fast forward them, but now I'm not. And it's the bare minimum, but it's, again, like a small, doable, practical way that we can work on regaining that attention back. But not only this, right? I mean, like, if you're watching a YouTube video on your computer, try not to open up another tab. Try not to read the comments. This is something that I've been trying to do lately, is to just open up the full screen, like whether I'm watching it on my phone or whether I'm watching it on my laptop. I actually love watching YouTube on my TV, but I do get tempted to multi-consume by then picking up my phone, right? So I think a lot of us are guilty of this. You might not even notice that you do it, but it happens in small ways because, again, all these websites are designed to do it to you. So when we're watching a YouTube video, unless you put it on full screen, you are going to see the comments. You are going to see a bunch of suggested content, so you know already what you're watching next. Challenge yourself to try to turn a blind eye to all of that and actually fully engage with just one piece of media at a time. I feel like we've gotten to this point where we are always in a rush. We always want the quick fix. We really want to get to that nugget of wisdom, and many of us are watching content like we're just waiting for it to get to the point already. We scroll while watching. We check the comments of something halfway through, hoping that someone summarized it for us already. What are we even doing? It might sound small, but I feel like it is a realistic way to retrain your brain to not be constantly absorbing so many ideas at once. And in relation to that really awesome quote that I referenced in the beginning of this portion, take a step even further and allow yourself to do things that don't typically require consuming media without consuming media. So by that I mean, if you are doing art, working out at the gym, typically we might listen to a podcast, listen to music, even watch YouTube videos, even just scroll on Instagram. Try not to. Try to just allow yourself to be and give your mind the rest that it deserves. Not trying to fill in every moment, every gap with input, media input, opinions, do activities in silence, sitting with the stillness. This allows me to just think a little bit more deeply and notice things that might have gone otherwise unnoticed if I was just constantly plugged in. Now, let's talk about reading. And if you're rolling your eyes and sighing, just stick with me for one moment, because I am not asking you to become some elitist bookworm. It's not about reading a lot of books. It's not about trying to get smarter. It is about refiring the neurons in your brain that require really deep focus, that require you to make sense of complex ideas and resist distraction. Just practice discipline in general, especially if you're not really big into reading. If you are feeling resistance towards reading, just know, first of all, you're not alone. I get it. I've been there. It has taken me a while to learn how to love reading again. And even then, my relationship with it is still inconsistent in a way. Like, I definitely go very long periods of time without reading much. But I'm trying to change that. I'm trying to fight through the resistance because, let's be real, the typical reason is usually that we don't like how much of our focus it requires. We find it to be challenging. We find it to be hard. We get distracted. We find it to be boring. And I would say that that is the biggest reason that we should be reading. There are countless studies that explain the benefit of using literature as a medium, significantly improving your focus, your concentration, your ability to comprehend ideas, your memory. Engaging with longer text helps your brain to process information more thoughtfully and more deeply. And also just our capacity to form independent, critical thoughts. What really helps me reframe my relationship with reading is just trying not to view it as a chore, and instead seeing it as time to rest or self-care. I know that that can sound a little contradictory because the brain isn't really resting if we're engaging in deep focus, but anytime I read, usually feel very relaxed because I do feel very unplugged. I'm immersed in another world with other characters, and it can feel like an escape in a really positive way. In the beginning, I was only able to read like mystery and thriller books. I really just wanted every page to be really thrilling for me. But now I have definitely expanded my genres, and sometimes I'm reading a book that I know feels really challenging. It feels a little bit like a mental exercise to push through, but I end up feeling a lot more fulfilled and satisfied when I'm able to slow down and actually comprehend the pages that I'm reading. Another quote I read recently that helped me reframe and slow down the way I read is something along the lines of like, anytime you're reading, just pretend for some reason that you did not have the ability to turn back and reread that page again. Just read it so slow, like if you had only one chance to read it. And I don't know what, but something clicked in me when I read that. It just helps. I also try reading in a very enthusiastic narrative voice in my mind. Recently, I've been reading my first James Baldwin book, and I'm not used to his style of writing. It's very narrative and detailed, and so using that enthusiastic voice in my head has helped a lot. Another key point here, when I say read more, I don't just mean to try and power through a stack of books just to feel more productive. I mean, like, read slower. Actually sit with the words. Take your time. It is not a competition, I promise you. And give your brain some time to digest what you've just absorbed. That might mean finishing fewer books overall, and that's okay. I would rather read one book every 2 to 3 months than 5 to 6 books that I don't even fully remember. And also, I already talked about this earlier, read articles, read essays. There are so many good writers out there on the internet. You can read so much good content for free. And I don't know if you guys know this, but you can preview practically any book these days on Google or on Goodreads. I know some previews don't have every page, and that can be a bummer, but I have really loved utilizing that and previewing a lot of books before I buy them, just to see if they would actually be something I'm interested in, and I would highly suggest doing that as well. It really helps me to like get excited for the book. And also, if you have Spotify Premium, you get one free book or audiobook download per month. So that is a great place to start if you're not much of a reader. Another thing that I have been doing just to try and end my doom scrolling and reclaim my attention span is to put myself in third spaces more. If you watch my vlogs, then you know I already really do love third spaces, but it can be really easy to not prioritize putting myself in them or going out enough. There are studies that obviously show the decline of third spaces. Oh, if you didn't know, a third space is a space other than your job or your home. Typically like a cafe, back in the day, movie theaters, parks, libraries. And there are a lot of benefits to your mental health and your social health to them, but I have also found that implementing them more into my life feels like a much needed mental reset. These spaces are obviously a lot harder to get lost doom scrolling in. Like, I wouldn't typically go to a coffee shop and sit down and just doom scroll on my phone, I don't know, I just feel more compelled to like read a book at a bookstore or do some work or edit or do something that feels a little bit more productive to my brain. And I think that that's like a universal effect that a third space has. It doesn't always need to be something productive like doing work at a cafe. A third space also, in my opinion, offers the chance to really just be without any expectations that we might place on ourselves when we are at work or at home. Like for instance, if we're at home all the time, we might feel the need to always clean or always just fill up our time. I don't know, it can just feel really freeing and relaxing to be in a space where other people are also just relaxing and doing their own thing. I feel like I am more free to think clearly and ponder and people watch and notice things around me without feeling that constant pull of digital distractions or input. Third spaces don't have to be social. It's not about being social in this case. It's more, unless that's what you're working on, but it's more just about pulling yourself out of the usual environments of work and home where we do typically spend a lot of time doom scrolling. I love the advice of consuming less and creating more, yes. And I also think that for many of us, it's a lot easier said than done. And it's kind of like the typical advice of focus more on what you're inviting into your life rather than what you're taking out. So I know that for a lot of us, consuming less does feel like taking out something from our lives. And I think replacing it with reclaiming your focus, reclaiming your attention span, inevitably we will start to consume less. I don't know. It's a layered, unique, and personal process for everyone. So the journey might not look the same for you as it does for me. But if you have been feeling scattered or overstimulated lately, I hope that this gave you some ideas to feel more grounded. If nothing else, I hope that it reminded you that your brain is not broken. We are just being pulled into 1,000 different directions. And sometimes we just need to be a little bit more intentional about how and what we consume. If you are also trying to reclaim your attention span, I would love to know what's been working for you. We are in this together. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you in the next one.